Hello, hello, hello. Good to see you. Oh, the bitch has a book in her hand. You get fairy dust, and I get fairy dust, and little Amelie's right here cuddled with us. She gets fairy dust too. Codependent no more. We're still reading. We're still in chapter 4. If you have the hardcover, whatever, the handheld paper book, we are on page 42. And what you have done up to this point is you have rated yourself from 0 to 10 on how much you have this. You may have done a little bit more work on it of where you used to be versus where you're now, which is kind of what I did. And then I asked you to take 2 of those from the column in the caretaking and put them in a journal or a notebook or a diary or whatever, and start, because the reason we're going to do that is we're now going to start working on healing these. So if you picked hard ones, if you picked easy ones, doesn't matter. You can change them, whatever you want to do, but it's time to get to work. And I want you then to, so you're going to take those 2 and write, just do some writing on it. Those are your writing prompts. So if I chose find themselves attracted to needy people, if I chose that one, I would think, okay, let me think about this. Let me think of my history with this. It's like going through and doing a little bit of self-exploration about your history, about being attracted to needy people, who's the first needy person that you were attracted to, etc., etc. And so just seeing where you are and where this has come from, and the question I want to ask you as you get to the end of your little self-exploration, the question I want you to ask yourself, is this still serving you? Is still being attracted to needy people, how is it serving you? Because if you're still doing it, it's serving you. So you got to figure out how it's serving you. And then you'll figure out how to get those needs met, the way that it's serving you in other ways, so you don't have to keep being attracted to needy people. And so that's what we're going to be doing with the rest of the categories. Our next category is, oh God, low self-worth. So you now have 2 caretaking ones that you're keeping your eye on. Another thing to ask is, where is it showing up in your life today? So where is that showing up in your life today? So now I'm going to read the self-worth ones, and we're going to pick one of those, just one, because the caretaking list was really, really long, and so that's why we chose 2. Let's look at the self-worth one. So codependents tend to come from troubled, repressed, or dysfunctional families. Okay, that shit like this really excites me, because I don't have to do any work on that. That's just a yes or no, and it's lifted, because we don't have to. But if you're watching this shit, you are from a troubled, ding, repressed, ding, or dysfunctional family, ding. So that's already, we already passed that test. We can just check that off the list and done. See, that's advanced personal growth work. We don't even need to do any work on that, because you are not in denial about that shit anymore. Okay, number 2. Deny their family was trouble, repressed, or dysfunctional. So again, you're already here, you're already advanced, so you don't have that problem. Because I guarantee you, even if they found me on Instagram, they are not coming near my page, because they need to keep holding this truth, their truth of that they are going to deny that their family was trouble, repressed, or dysfunctional. So if it's not true, which I have to believe it already is, like, you already know this, so those are 2 you don't have to work on. Like, those are just free. Woohoo! Okay, blame themselves for everything. Okay, I was pretty low on that. I don't know why. I don't know. Isn't it interesting how weird the dysfunction shows up? But I don't think no. When I hated myself, I did think I was a piece of shit, and like everything was my fault and I was a big old dummy. So that's not actually true. So, but now not so much. I don't really blame myself for anything. So 0 to 10, get your little self marked on there. Pick on themselves for everything, including the way they think, look, act, and behave. Okay, here we go. You might even need to separate these. The way they think. A lot of us think that we're stupid. Our feelings are dumb. We shouldn't feel that way. That's like classic codependency. Look, oh, we're hideous. I mean, I think that's in levels, I don't know, but I thought that I was disgusting garbage and trash and should not leave the house, that I was hideous, and I was overweight from childhood to early 20s, like overweight, like almost 200 pounds. So I felt hideous and disgusting, and I hated my body. I would pray at night and I'd grab my thighs because I always have thick thighs. Dad ass, that thighs. And was called Thunder Thighs once in high school. And I used to grab like the flesh of my leg and just like, please, like as a child, like, please make this go away. And of course, that's not the way that it works. So that was heartbreaking. But I got recovery, and my thighs are still thick as fuck. I don't really care. I'm good. And now I kind of like it. The way we look, act, we always act awful. We acting dumb. We shouldn't have done that. Like, we're always getting our hands slapped, always, it's like, oh, then we shouldn't have acted like that. And that we should be behaving. We should be, a lot of our stuff, mine rolled over into food, as you know. So it's like, I'm behaving if I'm sticking to the diet that day or that minute or whatever, as much as I could muster. And then I was good if I could make the grade, or I was, but if we stray from perfection, then we get mad at us for that we're not behaving properly. And if you really look at how, if a way to work on that one is well, go to therapy. To get all these on fast track, you'll heal them pretty quickly. And you don't have to go to therapy, but you just diligently, you have to take actions in order to heal. And one of the ways is to have an imperfection practice, which is on my Bitchifesto. So that's one of the ways to do it. But we keep ourselves in a pretty small box, and that's very, very common for codependents. And so it's very hard to think any different and think differently. And if you are a fawn, like I am as well, then this is the stuff that keeps us fawning. And so you can see that if, like, children don't get born thinking that they're trash or ugly or they misbehave or et cetera, et cetera. So all the messages you got were to think a certain way, to feel a certain way, to look a certain way, to act a certain way, to behave in a certain way. And so when you weren't doing that, you were not being the fawn that you were supposed to be doing and supposed to be being. And so, of course, you took on the mantle of saying all that shit to yourself. And so now, no more. It's time to start working on these. And I would actually list these as separate ones. Think, feel, look, act and behave are the same, I would say. And so that's 4. So pick on themselves for the way they think, 0 to 10, feel 0 to 10, look 0 to 10, act 0 to 10, act and behave 0 to 10. And then it's time to start working on that. Get angry, defensive, self-righteous, and indignant when others blame and criticize the codependent, something codependents regularly do to themselves for sure. And remember, all these are falling under the guise of low self-worth. And so remember, for fawns, the language of self, the language of no, the language, all of that is extinguished. And so that's why you have, so it's this thing about low self-worth. Self-worth is low. That's exactly right. And that's where they want the fawns, with low self-worth, because they're going to be hustling to get self-worth. It never will work though, because points aren't real. applause isn't real, it will always end up back to feeling like shit about yourself, the way you think, speak, bop, 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 bop. Okay. Again, so remember, just because you don't have one of these, like, so angry, I would never say that I was angry. Defensive, 100%. Self-righteous, that's a tough one, but yes. And indignant, I mean, I do have a snob in me, like, she's a fucking bitch, like, you know, and that was not, I did not start that myself and my family. That is a definite hand-me-down. And it actually has made it very difficult to not relapse in my addiction, because other people needed to do that shit. I didn't need to do it. Like, I don't need to go to that many meetings. I mean, that's self-righteousness and indignation. Like, oh, no, I'm special. Like, no, you're not, bitch. Blame and criticize the codependent. Okay. Reject compliments or praise. Okay, that's standard issue fawn. That's standard issue fawn. That's standard issue fight or flight or freeze. Like, it's standard issue. It comes with a dysfunctional family. And so that is why I wrote on my Bitchifesto, advance bitches love or enjoy compliments. So that's the work to do. Get depressed from a lack of compliments and praise, stroke deprivation. Those go hand in hand. So it's like, especially if again, these things can get mixed up. So if your love language is words of affirmation, words of affirmation or gifts or whatever, you'll get depressed because people won't do that. But when they do, you'll reject them. And so that's why we know it's a dysfunction that needs to be healed. Think differently than the rest of the world. I totally felt that. Sometimes I still do, but I'm feeling like less and less, because I mean, that's why I never showed my face on social media before last October, because I thought I was a fucking weirdo with just stupid thoughts about all this shit. Think they're not quite good enough. That's standard issue. I think that I'm not good enough is a Horcrux. For standard, like I said, standard issue. We all got that one. And that we have to heal it. That's your work. Feel guilty about spending money on themselves, or doing unnecessarily or fun things for themselves. Let's stop there. And that's another thing that appears on my Bitchifesto. Turns out my Bitchifesto is like the opposite of a codependency. And it is, because, what was that last one? What did I just say? Feel guilty about spending money. Right. Okay, so that's why on my Advanced Bitchifesto, I have Advanced Bitches Live a First Class Life. And the first class life is about, circumventing that wound in order to take care of yourself. Because self-care is really hard when you think all those terrible things about yourself. And so, so you're gonna go down the list, separate the ones that have multiple, like think, act, behave, you get it, and rate yourself from 1 to 10. If that's true for you or not. How true is it? 0 to 10. And like I said, freebies, you got 2 freebies, the first 2 on the low self-worth list. So yeah, we're doing an inventory on your self-worth, and so that's what's happening. And okay, here's the rule. Okay, time to get a wand. You are not allowed to beat yourself up from scoring low on the low self-worth thing. That is like, what's that? Omnivorous or whatever. That's the snake eating its own tail. That's too meta. We have to not beat ourselves up, because these are wounds. This isn't being bad or stupid or wrong. These are wounds. We're recovering from childhood trauma. We're recovering from our addictions. We're recovering from our codependency. And so if your inner saboteur will want to beat you up for having low self-worth. And if that's not the pot calling the kettle black, I don't know what is. So and if that starts happening, just notice it, and then I want you to giggle a little bit, because it's like, she said I would do this. But yeah, so the first piece of work is not beating yourself up for having low self-worth. That's just toxic. So that has to go. And so that is a definitely a negative cognition. And it's a hoodwink from your inner saboteur. So don't let her get in on this too much while you're doing your inventory. Okay, we're doing great. Still in chapter 4. Take your time. And if this is getting too much, you could even stop watching any more videos and then just work on these. Like till the cows come home, till they're all 10s, or no, till they're all 0s. Like you don't have these anymore. Because it can get too much. It can get too overwhelming. Because I'm asking you to work on them, so I know stuff is coming up and some discomfort's coming up and some hardship's coming up. So I recommend therapy. Go to therapy. Go to therapy. Go to therapy. As much as you can afford to go and work on this shit. Okay. Love you. Hope that was helpful. Bye. Love you.